Example number 1 is going to help us create our equations. The problem reads, last week, Lauren's Candle Store received $355.60 for selling 20 candles. Small candles sell for $10.98 and large candles sell for $27.98. Write a system of equations that can be used to determine how many large candles were sold and how many small candles were sold. So over here in the corner, we're just going to kind of jot down some information that we know. Okay, we know that $355.60 is our total, right? The total amount that we made. And we know that small candles are $10.98. We know that large candles are $27.98. And there's also another interesting number that we know here. We know that we sold 20 candles. Okay, so we sold 20 candles, and that's another total. Okay, so that number means something very important. But before we get there, let's define our variables. The first step, what are we solving for? Well, what are the two things we are talking about in this problem? So I can see right now that we are talking about small candles and large candles. Now, while you can define your variables using any letter in the alphabet, I'm going to pick X and Y just because it's what we are used to working with. So I'm going to say, let X equal the number of small candles, because we are trying to figure out how many small and large candles we are working with. So we're trying to figure out the number of candles. So X is going to equal the number of small candles. All right, and then we're going to use Y to represent the number of large candles. Okay, so those are the two items we are trying to solve for. Okay, now that we have our two variables, let's try to figure out our two equations. So the first equation that I'm going to write has to deal with the price of the candles. So I'm going to look back in my problem and the information that I have and find all the information related to the price. So I know that a small candle, which is our X, is $10.98. So I have 10.98, and I'm going to multiply that by how many candles we have. Okay, and we know that our large candles cost $27.98. So $27.98, and we're going to multiply that by however many large candles we sold. Y. Okay, and our total. So the price that we earned for selling all of our small candles and the price that we earned for selling all of our large candles is going to equal our total, which is $355.60. Okay. Now, looking back at the information we know, I used this number, I used this number, I used this number. but we only have one number left. Now, this is a very interesting piece of information because it tells us a lot of information without giving us a lot of information. So if we know that we sold a total of 20 candles, right? That's our total. Without saying it, this is really telling us that this is the amount of small candles plus the amount of large candles. So using our variables, we're going to have all of our small candles, which is X, plus all of our large candles, which is Y, and that tells us we sold a total of 20 candles. So we have two equations here. An equation representing the price of the candles and an equation representing the number of candles. This equation, X plus Y equals 20, is a sneaky little equation, okay? But make sure that you're understanding the context of the problem to help you pull out this information. All right, so let's keep going with this example. It says, Lauren graphed both equations using her calculator. Oh, look, she did all the work for us. Good job, Lauren. Answer the following questions based on the results. Okay, so looking here, the first part is wanting us to find the solution to this system of equations. So let's look at her graph. Do you see the solution on the graph? I do. It's this point right here where the two lines intersect. But there's really no numbers on this graph. I'm not really sure what the scale is. So we can also look at our table of values to help us find the exact coordinates of the solution. Here's our table of values. What are we looking for here? In order to find the solution to a system of equations, we want to find this point that is on both lines. The X values are the same for each line, but the Y values are different for each line. We will know that we found our solution when the Y values are the same for both equations. So if we're looking here, not the same, not the same. Oh, look, right here. I have an 8 as both of my Y values. Our X value is 12. So that tells me that this point, 12, 8 is on line 1, and 12, 8 is on line 2. It's on both lines, meaning that is our solution point, 12, 8. Okay, so it's very easy to recognize that by looking at our table of values because we can see the exact numbers instead of just kind of guessing on a graph. Okay, next part says explain what the X value of the solution and what the Y value of the solution means in the context of this problem. Okay, so going back to the previous slide, we said that X represents the number of small candles. So the X coordinate of our solution, X, Y, the X coordinate of our solution should represent the number of small candles that we sold. So we're going to write that down. Our X value is 12. So that tells us we sold, or I should say, Lauren sold 12 small candles. And we're going to do the same thing for the Y value. The Y value is 8. And that means Lauren sold 8 large candles. So we can use systems of equations to help us find some very valuable information, but it's always a good idea to make sure you use your calculator to help you verify your solutions, and that you understand what the solution means in the context of each problem.